Here's what I would do if I got laid off today. Hi, I'm Kristen. I'm an executive career coach helping mid to senior level corporate women get promoted and transition into work they love. Now, let me normalize this. If you live long enough and you work in corporate America, you will very likely be laid off. I myself have been laid off. I understand what a sucker punch it can be. Unfortunately, that will probably not change until we change corporate law. You may be aware that corporate law in America states that we have to keep in mind the best interests of the shareholders and act in their best interests, not the employees. I would argue that both are possible, but until we all get there, here's what I would do. Number one, I would not announce it on LinkedIn. I've noticed a lot of those large posts, I was laid off today, I need some help, etc., etc. Couple different reasons why. First and foremost, there are a lot of companies that are laying off in drips and not buckets. So if your company is one of them where they are just doing a few scattered layoffs, they might not want to be publicly announced as someone who is laying off others. And if you have any inkling of reapplying for a job with that corporation, don't start off by getting in their bad graces, even if you are mad in this moment. The other reason I might not do this is because job hunting is a lot like dating. Whether or not you want to hear it, it's true. And you don't want to look thirsty right out of the gate. There are some better approaches. Let's talk about them. Number two, I would go to LinkedIn and I would scour my contacts. So anybody I worked with at this present job or jobs before me that I was not connected to, I would make sure that I was connected to them now. I would also go to any alumni groups and renew connections there, making sure that anybody I knew in college or graduate school, I had them on my list. And then also to my professional networking groups. So if I had a group for women lawyers in California, let's say, I would go there and anyone I had had banter with or connected with in a real person event, in an in-person event, I would connect with them online. Number three, I would reach out to anyone in my network that worked somewhere I might want to work. And here's the note I would send them. Hey, Janine, I see you're working at X company now. I'd love to learn a little bit about your journey and what you're doing. And if you're enjoying it, do you have 15 minutes to meet this week? In that first introduction, I am not sharing that I was laid off. People might feel some kind of way, especially in this economy, if they're getting hit up left and right. They might not want to take a meeting with somebody who feels thirsty. And I would not say, hey, I need help finding my next role. That's all stuff you can talk about once you are in the meeting and you can cultivate some empathy for your situation or just be really honest with them. And they might not be helpful, but it's better to get them in a video call and find out whether or not they're going to be an ally rather than lose that opportunity from the get-go. Number four, I would invest in a professional resume writer. And yes, even me who professionally writes resumes for a living. Couple of reasons why. One, it is a separate job to write a resume, and you have to be in a good mindset, meaning feeling confident, owning your results, and really understanding that you're great. And that is hard to do after a layoff when you feel like you've just been dismissed and you are dispensable and you've been punched in the gut. So going into a situation where somebody can get you in the right frame of mind so that they can bring out what it is that you do very, very well can be incredibly helpful when looking for your next role. The other reason I would invest in a professional resume writing service is because the target is constantly moving. You are not just pleasing a hiring manager, but you're pleasing the applicant tracking system. You're having to please the recruiter before you even get to the hiring manager most of the time. And a professional resume writer is going to understand those various aspects and what needs to happen in order for you to get through the front lines and make it to that pivotal conversation. I can give you one example. I, as a hiring manager, love a template. I love it when your resume is pretty and organized and I can see everything in the boxes on the side and I have this here, but the ATS systems, they hate that. So it's important to understand how to get through each level of the game. Number five, I have said this before, but I'm going to say it again. It is imperative that you are selective. We have an employer's economy. There have been layoffs all year, and there have been additional layoffs announced before the end of 2024. I'm recording this video in Q4 of 2024. So that means that they have their pick of the litter. And what that also means is when you are applying for jobs, you want to make sure that it is specific and honed to your skill set to the best of your abilities. Some people think it is a numbers game, I can assure you that in this market, it is not. So I don't want you to waste your time applying for 10 or 20 jobs a week that are not a good match. It's going to defeat your ego. It's going to make you feel as though you're not valuable. And I don't want that for you. I want you to get some wins. So applying to maybe 3, maybe 5 jobs on a good week that are an exact match for your skill set, where you can tick, 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 tick your resume and the job description in the same box. That is what is going to equate to the wins. And there will be some weeks where you don't see anything that is an exact match, and that is okay. Spend your time networking. The majority of jobs come from people we know, so I want you to invest in that. Number 6, reach out to second degree connections. I've said this before as well, but it's about who you know. And even if you come to me and you say, hey, Kristen, how do you know Mary? And I say, I don't. Still reach out to Mary and say, hey, Mary, I see we both know Kristen. You work at X company, and I'd love to learn a little bit more about your journey. Same template as with first degree connections. Not everybody will be a hit, but I want you to be expanding your network. It's the more people you know, the more people you connect with, that will land you your next role. Number 7, if I was not happy with my last job and I had a little bit of money from a severance package, for example, I would invest in coaching. So if I had a culture that was not a good fit, and that maybe had been a choice I had made and found myself in for a couple of jobs now where I was like, this seems great, and then it ended up not being, that might be something that I need to look at. Or if I want to see how my skills can be transferred into something new because I didn't really like my last role, this would be where I would invest. And another reason for this is going to be a great conversation with a recruiter or a hiring manager to understand that you have a growth mindset, to understand that you're introspective, and to understand that you can resolve problems even within yourself. I'd hire you. So make sure that if that is something on your to-do list, you're doing it now. Number 8. If I was concerned about money, I would look at any skip payment options for big ticket items like a mortgage or student loans. It might not be something you have to do right away, but you might sleep better at night understanding what options you have if it comes to that down the road. Number 9. Again, if money were a concern, I didn't receive a severance package, I would go to Fiverr, to Upwork, to TaskRabbit, any of the online platforms where you can freelance, and I would open an account. Sure, if you want to work retail, that's great, but the skills that you used in corporate America can be used at small businesses as well. I used Fiverr myself when I was starting my business back in 2016, and I did copywriting work. But what you can offer is so much more robust today. So UX design, coding, HR policy, the list goes on and on. Like I said, if you did it in corporate America, you can probably get paid for it, and that will give you a buffer and allow you to make ends meet. Getting laid off sucks, and I know that you might be panicking, but I would encourage you to breathe. One of the exercises I do with private clients when they get into these moments of what I call 0 to 60, where they start to fatalize things, is called homeless and alone under a bridge. Now, stay with me because I know that does not sound fun. But like I said, a lot of times we're like, oh, everything's going to, go wrong. I'm going to lose the house. Like, I'm going to go into debt. I'm going to have to declare bankruptcy, whatever it happens to be. It's going to take a lot longer than you realize for any of those terrible things to happen. So going down that path and looking at it realistically rather than with the intensity of emotion that you're feeling now can really help give you some breathing room. So for example, if I say, I just got laid off and I'm going to lose my house, like, oh, do you have enough money to pay the mortgage this month? Well, yes. Well, how many months could you pay the mortgage for? Oh, probably 3. Okay, well, let's keep that in mind. And then what would happen next? Well, if I were to lose the house, I would have to move in with my mother. Oh, okay. How long do you think you could live with your mother? Ooh, 2 months top. And you go down the list and you're like, what are the stopgaps that I can put into place for each of these horrifying things in this list that would leave me homeless and alone under a bridge? Because like I said, it's going to take a lot longer than you think. And if you have a realistic picture of that, then you can take action to prevent it. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, I'd love to hear them in the comments, and I'd love to be able to help. And if you did enjoy this, please share, like, and subscribe. I come out with new material every week, and I will see you then.